Hello, hello, hello. TM24 here, and we are back with some more Marvel Snap content. Now, I've got a new deck for you, and it's pretty bad. And by pretty bad, it's actually really kind of good. So, what we've got here is a junk deck. I played against it a little bit. I've kind of been looking at it, trying to find one that works for me, and I think I found the one. So, this is the deck. I'm going to go over each card here individually in a minute, and I do have some gameplay here right next to me. Now, I just want to point out, this gameplay that you're seeing, all these games, they were recorded in succession. So, literally just rattled off 5, 6, 7 wins in a row with this deck, and it feels really, really good, and it's really, really fun messing with your opponent's board and their plays. So, enjoy the gameplay, but let's talk about some of these cards, right? The Hood, a 1/-2. Big get really is the Demon. You know, a 1/6, and that's going to come in huge when it comes to turn 6. Typically, you're going to be playing Gamora or Spider-Woman on turn 6, and being able to drop those in addition to a 1/6 Demon is huge. Now, the Hood also has synergy with Viper. Hood on 1, Viper on 2, just, I don't know if there's a better feeling in the world than sending your negative power over to their side. So, that is huge. Next up, we've got Titania, and just like the Demon, she's a turn 6 play. Most of the time, you're going to be behind on turn 6. So, being able to play Spider-Woman and Titania, or Gamora and Titania, feels really, really good. You know Titania's staying on your side, and you're adding a ton of power to those lanes. So, definitely a turn 6 play for her. Next up, we've got Black Widow. Now, I'm slamming her almost as soon as I get it because, one, it prevents them from drawing, which is awesome. But two, they also have to play that Widow's Bite if they want any of their cards, and that's just messing up their side of the board more. It's filling lanes with things that they don't want to fill them with. And Black Widow is just, it's great at that. Next, we come up to Mojo. Mojo is going to be a source of power for you. They are going to have at least one lane that is filled, probably two. And that's where Mojo comes in handy, as he's just now a 2/8, and that is just, that's huge, and that's honestly kind of gross. I think there was one game where I played Demon, Titania, Mojo, all in the last turn, and, you know, it's strong. It's really, really strong, so it feels really, really good. Next up, we've got Viper. We've talked about her a little bit with the Hood, but she also has nice synergy with Debris, and any of the locations that throw you some garbage, she can kind of clear your side a little bit while stuffing up there. So Viper also feels really, really nice in this deck. And then we're continuing the bad cards by giving them a Green Goblin. Again, the goal is just to stuff up their lanes, make it impossible for them to play. And Green Goblin is really good at that, in addition to Debris, who we've got next, right? So Debris is going to come through and throw those rocks down. Again, you can use your Viper to toss your rocks onto their side, or at least one of them. Or, you know, maybe you just leave it. You're not too concerned about your side of the board being too messed up because, you know, you've got smaller plays, like smaller cards here. You're playing just a Gamora and a Titania. You only need 2 slots, whereas you're actively screwing theirs up. So I think that's kind of where the big difference is. While you're adding those rocks to your side, you're controlling where you play your cards. They are not controlling where you're sending those rocks. You can use Debris to mess up Galactus. You can fill their lanes that they don't want to fill. And Debris just has been really, really nice at that. Next up, we've got a pair of 4-drops, both 4/3s, both controlling pieces, but they're both acting in a little bit different way here, right? Shang-Chi, first off, he's great. He's going to come down and he's going to destroy anything that is too much power. So we all know about Shang-Chi. We know he's awesome. And I felt like he had to be included in this deck. Next up, we've got Spider-Man. Spider-Man's been great as well. He feels almost as good on 4 as he does on 5. Even though 5, he feels like a soft Professor X. But 4, he clears that way for Professor X. And it just feels really nice knowing that you're going to have that lane locked down, and all it's coming down to is, you know, your Gamora or Spider-Woman on the other lane. Typically, you're playing that Spider-Man on a lane that you haven't been stuffing full of things for them, so that you get the most value out of it, right? they've already got stuffed up lanes. It's hard for them to play cards. So you play that on a lane where they're pretty empty and you're feeling really, really good about where you're at because they can't play there. Next up, Professor X. We kind of talked about him a little bit, but he's nice to come in and just lock down a lane so that all you've got to worry about is your turn 6 play. And whether it's Gamora, Titania, Spider-Woman, Demon, knowing that Professor X is already taking care of one for you is great. Now, you'd love to be up by a decent margin with Professor X just because there are cards that can reach that lane, right? I've run into a Claw. We know Mr. Fantastic can. So you definitely want to be up by a decent number, or at least in a spot where those cards can't affect you. So if it's Claw that you're worried about, try and lock down a lane that's on the far left side. If it's Mr. Fantastic, you know, you're probably going to wind up with 2 power coming into you either way. So just make sure you're above that 2 power threshold. And then we've got our pair of 5 drops, Gamora and Spider-Woman, right? Gamora is great because a lot of the time they're only going to have one location they can play. So you're hitting on your Gamora at a much higher rate than you typically would. And that feels really, really good. Next up is Spider-Woman. She's used kind of on the, a little bit differently. 5'8", but really you're adding 4 to her because most of the time you're playing her on a lane that they have stacked full. Well, that you've stacked full for them. So Spider-Woman coming down and then in combination with Titania or the Demon like we talked about, I mean, those two, it just feels really good. It doesn't matter which ones you have typically because you're in okay shape. So overall, this deck is just, I don't even know how to explain it. It seems like it's a bunch of bad cards. It seems like you don't have a whole lot of power. But because you have much more lane control than your opponent typically, you're going to wind up winning those games. And you'll see that in these games here, and I'll kind of walk you through a few of them as we're coming up here. But yeah, this deck just feels really, really good. So let's walk you through a couple of these games. All right, turn 1 here. We see our hand. It's Gamora, it's Debris, it's Green Goblin, and we picked up the Hood late. We saw Yondu come down, so first thing we're thinking is, okay, this could be a Galactus deck. We see that a lot in Galactus decks, so we're a little bit worried. But we know that we can play the Hood safely because, hey, if he's going to Galactus and has Null, we are not helping him out. So we get that down, and we are in good shape. Next thing we know, we've got Green Goblin. We're definitely going to play that, and here's the wave. And so we're thinking, okay, yeah, here comes Galactus. We're ready for it. We get Green Goblin down, so we know there's only one spot he can go, and that's going to be Elysium. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to... I'm pretty sure we're trying to take that, but let's see what we end up doing. We do. We think that they're going to play Galactus, so we slam Gamora there, and instead we see Destroyer, so we're like, uh-oh. But, we're not in bad shape either here. We have 7 power in one lane, we've got Viper ready to send some negative power to them, and we're going to lock them out of the Icebox with Spider-Man. So he locks us out, we lock him out, and we're going to be ahead in Clintar where he locked us out, which is going to be huge. I'm sure he expected us to be behind, but we weren't. So that's going to force him to actually play there on turn 6, and we're going to be free to play elsewhere. Now here we had to kind of figure out our play. We're lucky that we had a little bit of extra energy to work with here, thanks to Elysium, allowing us to get Debris, Demon, and Titania down. We start doing some math, and we realize, uh-oh, we need to change this up. That's not going to work. Titania, because we have priority, would flip over, so we know that we've got to play her on the Icebox. Now getting Debris and Demon down, that just feels like we've got enough power. So Spider-Woman comes out, hits Destroyer, Titania comes down, giving us that lane, and then we hit with our other 2 cards, and we take that one fairly easily. They switch one lane, but it's not nearly enough, so a nice easy win there. Next game here, we're looking at it, and the Big House, that's pretty good for us. We've got a lot of low-cost cards. We can definitely mess that lane up for them, so that's what we're thinking. We're planning our moves. We know we've got nothing that we can play right now, but we know we've got plenty of plays that we can make coming up. So we're ready to go, and we're passing, and we know that turn 2 comes around, and we are going to slam that Black Widow down. Now, we thought about it ahead of time. We know the tower is going to end up flipping the Widow's Bite back to us, but we don't really care. We want to stop that draw because that's just as valuable as having a 0-0 on their side. We know that they're going to play that 0-0 in the tower. So we get Green Goblin ready to go in the big house. They've already played 2 cards there, so we're going to try and fill that up for them. Help them out, give them some more cards there. You can see I'm pointing. I know the Widow's Bite's coming back. I'm not worried about it. If I want to, I can Viper it away. Really, I'm not too concerned about it. We could throw that lane. It doesn't matter. So we wait for it. It comes down. Brood comes down, and I'm already thinking, okay, this game is pretty much over, right? They have 2 spots that they can play if we lock down that middle location, and that is what we are planning to do, right? We're going to slam debris. We're going to try and fill up those other slots for them, and we know that we're playing Professor X next turn in that middle lane. He thought he was going to, clear up a space, but we fill it for him. Right away, you see it. We have Professor X ready to go. Lock that lane down. We're not going to give him too much of a chance to get out of this. Final turn comes around. We've got Spider-Woman ready. We've got Titania ready. And that's just the game plan. I mean, just look at that. That is just far too good. We flipped 2 lanes. We locked them out of third, and we're just in really good shape. As I was saying, that's why I think this deck is kind of sneaky good. And if you've got some of these cards that make it work, I would say definitely give it a shot. I don't have Sentry, but I think I probably would have included him in this deck just because that's a lot of power to be able to get down. But overall, it's super fun. You get to mess up your opponent's plays, and it feels really, really nice to play. So if you've made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thank you for hanging around. Now would be a great time to go and hit that like and subscribe button, as it really does help me out. But give this deck a shot. Like I said, it's fun to mess with your opponent, so I definitely think this is a good one. But until next time, remember, have some fun.